Tired of the negativity? Looking for a shot of optimism? Well, I have an inspiring story to make you smile right after this. This episode of Misfits and Crackpots is brought to you by the Well-Crafted Story Workshop. Struggling to connect with your audience and attract new clients? Transform your speaking skills at the Well-Crafted Story Workshop with Coach Jimmy Hayes Nelson and yours truly, Dr. Danny Brissell. In just 2 days, master the art of crafting compelling speeches that convert listeners into clients. Whether in-person or virtual, you'll get personalized attention in an intimate group, learning not just from expert coaches, but from fellow entrepreneurs. Don't let another opportunity slip away. Get your free story blueprint today at wellcraftedstoryworkshop.com and turn your story into your most powerful business tool. Your success starts here. Visit wellcraftedstoryworkshop.com now. You're just a well-crafted story away from 7 figures. Hello there, my friend, and welcome to Misfits and Crackpots. Short, inspiring stories for busy people. I'm Dr. Danny Brissell. This is a podcast for those interested in extraordinary stories about ordinary people and companies. Consider it your dose of positivity and inspiration for the week. Annie Main Dennis once said, "Life is a banquet and most poor suckers are starving to death." This week's success strategy: make each day your masterpiece. Many would judge her unorthodox lifestyle, but no one would ever accuse Mary Phelps Jacobs of having lived a dull life. From her early days as a debutante to her later years as a patron of the arts and a champion of peace, she embarked on a remarkable journey. There was nothing ordinary about the woman nicknamed Polly. She lived in a fashion that even Auntie Mame would admire. Born in 1891 into a family that valued the finer things, she was accustomed to luxury. Her father, a businessman with a taste for the good life, ensured that his daughter never settled for anything less than the best. So, Polly learned social graces and expectations of high society. But beneath the polished exterior of a debutante laid a restless spirit. See, Polly possessed an eye for the unconventional and was determined to chart her own course, no matter where it might lead. From a young age, she defied the strict conventions of her social class, seeking out experiences that were daring and sometimes scandalous. She was a woman who lived life on her own terms, unafraid of judgment and indifferent to societal expectations. Her life was a whirlwind of parties, travel, and romance, each new adventure more daring than the last. A woman of many talents, she was notorious in her day. Polly's vivacious personality and free-spirited nature made her a subject of much gossip. Her name frequently appeared in the society columns, not only because of her social standing, but also because of the bold choices she made. So, it is odd that her extraordinary life is largely forgotten today, overshadowed by the very people she influenced and supported. Before her 25th birthday, Polly married. Her first marriage to Richard Peabody seemed to follow the predictable path laid out for women of her class. Richard was a wealthy Bostonian, a man of good family and promising future. But beneath the surface, their marriage was anything but conventional. Richard, though outwardly respectable, struggled with alcoholism and eventually became disinterested in the marriage. Polly, however, was not one to sit idly by. She sought solace and excitement elsewhere, and it wasn't long before she began an affair with a man 7 years her junior. By the age of 30, she had 2 children and 1 affair, with Harry Crosby, a poet 7 years younger than her. Harry was not just any man. He was a charismatic and unconventional poet, the nephew of J.P. Morgan, and a man with a penchant for living on the edge. Their affair was passionate, intense, and scandalous, a stark contrast to Polly's staid marriage. Polly was captivated by Harry's wild bohemian lifestyle, and together they embarked on a journey that would redefine both their lives. Their love was intense, full of artistic passion, and a shared disdain for the mundane. Embracing the nonconformity that would become her trademark, Polly made the bold decision to divorce her first husband and marry Harry. It was then that she would assume the name that would become synonymous with her legacy, Caress Crosby. Leaving the confines of her American upbringing, Caress and her new husband joined the ranks of fellow American expatriates in Paris during the 1920s. This was the era of the Lost Generation, a group of writers and artists disillusioned by the devastation of World War I and eager to explore new ways of living and expressing themselves. Paris was the epicenter of this creative explosion, and Caress and Harry were right at the heart of it. The Crosbys became famous, or infamous, for their open marriage, a relationship that defied the norms of the time. Their life together was one of excess, a constant search for new experiences and pleasures. They hosted lavish parties that were the talk of Paris, attended by the who's who of the literary and artistic world. Their travels took them across Europe and beyond, always in search of new adventures. They were unrepentant hedonists, indulging in gambling, drugs, and numerous affairs, all part of their philosophy of living life to the fullest. But the intensity of their lifestyle took its toll. Harry, always prone to dark moods and reckless behavior, spiraled deeper into despair. His poetry, once a source of joy, became increasingly morose, reflecting his inner turmoil. In 1929, Harry's life came to a tragic end when he shot himself and his mistress in a New York hotel room, an apparent suicide pact that shocked their circle of friends and the broader public. Harry's death could have devastated Caress, but she was a woman of remarkable resilience. Instead of retreating into grief, she chose to forge ahead. She mingled with artists, writers, and other bohemians drawn to their unconventional lifestyles and creative energy. Polly was a muse to some, a scandalous figure to others, but never just another face in the crowd. She chose to continue the work she and Harry had started together. See, Caress had always been more than just a socialite or the wife of a poet. She was also an artist and intellectual in her own right. She and Harry had co-founded a small publishing house that had already begun to make a name for itself by publishing avant-garde and experimental works. Now that Harry was gone, Caress took full control, determined to keep their dream alive. She expanded what she had renamed Black Sun Press, and under Caress's leadership, the publishing house flourished. She had a keen eye for talent and a willingness to take risk on writers who were often too controversial for mainstream publishers. Using her resources and connections to support the writers and artists she believed in, she helped launch the careers of some of the most important writers of the 20th century, including Ernest Hemingway, Anais Nin, Charles Bukowski, James Joyce, and Henry Miller. Besides being a publisher, she herself was a writer and a poet. She published several books of poetry, including Crosses of Gold in 1924 and The Passionate Years in 1926. She also wrote a novel, The Enchanted Village, in 1927, and a memoir, The Region of the Heart, in 1954. While Caress's writing may have been overshadowed by her work as a publisher, it was nevertheless significant. Her poetry was deeply personal, often reflecting the tumultuous emotions and experiences of her life. In her novel and memoir, she delved into the complexities of love, loss, and the search for meaning, offering readers a glimpse into her inner world. Caress's literary work, like her life, was characterized by a fearless honesty and a refusal to conform to expectations. A patron of the arts, Crosby also supported the work of many young artists, including painter Pablo Picasso and sculptor Constantine Brancusi. She starred in experimental dance films, threw lavish parties, and even introduced Salvador Dali to the international arts scene. In fact, some believe that she may have been the unidentified muse in his 1934 surrealist painting, Portrait of a Woman. As the specter of war loomed on the horizon, Caress Crosby made the decision to leave Europe in 1936 and return to the United States. This homecoming, however, did not signal the end of her unconventional ways. She embarked on a third marriage, this time to an unemployed alcoholic actor who was 18 years her junior. The marriage, predictably, did not last. She would have a long affair with Canada Lee, a prominent African-American actor and boxer, at a time when interracial relationships were still taboo. And her brief relationship with Buckminster Fuller, the visionary architect and engineer, added yet another layer to her already extraordinary life. Caress's life, however, was not all about art and romance. She was deeply committed to social and political causes, particularly the cause of peace. During World War II, she founded Women Against War, an organization dedicated to opposing the conflict and advocating for a more peaceful world. Caress's activism was rooted in her belief that art and beauty could be powerful tools for change, and she used her influence to promote these values. Even after the war ended, Caress continued to dream big. She envisioned a center for world peace in Delphi, Greece, a place where artists, thinkers, and activists could come together to promote understanding and harmony. Suspicious of her motives and concerned about the potential political implications, the Greek government blocked her plans. But Caress was not one to be easily discouraged, and she bought Castello di Rocca Sinibalda, a 15th century castle north of Rome, and transformed it into a retreat for some of the most creative minds of the time. Caress's castle was a fitting symbol of her life, grand, beautiful, and dedicated to the pursuit of art and creativity. In 1970, she succumbed to pneumonia, an affliction stemming from her battle with heart disease. The documentary film Always Yes, Caress described her as the literary godmother to the lost generation of expatriate writers in Paris, and Anais Nin described her as a pollen carrier who mixed, stirred, brewed, and concocted friendships. And while the end of her life story reads like that of Walter Mitty or Forrest Gump, it was the beginning of her story that probably garners Caress Crosby, aka Mary Phelps Jacobs, the most attention, for something she did not invent, but rather greatly improved. Preparing for a debutante's ball at the age of 19, she encountered a vexing predicament. Before she could slip into her elegant evening gown, she had to endure the constricting and compressing sensations of her corset. Adding insult to her discomfort, its ungainly whalebone presence spoiled the smooth contours of her neckline and marred the delicate fabric. Summoning her maid, she gathered a peculiar assortment of items: silk handkerchiefs, a cord, pink ribbon, a needle and thread. Stitching away, she created something that was lightweight, soft, and infinitely more comfortable than a corset. Its debut at the party created quite a stir, capturing the attention of all her female friends who clamored for their own. Word spread like wildfire, and when a stranger offered her $1 for her innovation, she recognized the immense potential of her product. Yet, before her creation could truly soar, she decided to close her business and sell U.S. patent number 1,115,674 to Warner Brothers Corset Company for $1,500. The company went on to make millions off the undergarment. Asked later in life if she regretted the sale, the woman who would become Caress Crosby expressed no regrets. She had lived a truly remarkable life and seen her share of adventure. But among her many achievements and escapades, this pioneer in the field of women's fashion is best known for a single contribution in particular: inventing the modern bra. See, friend, inspiration is all around us. You just have to look for it. Thanks for listening. Join us next week for another inspiring story about misfits and crackpots. Misfits and Crackpots is a production of Success Media, produced by Terrence Wishner. Sound effects by Alessandro Lucati, courtesy of Pixabay. Thank you for tuning in. If you love today's story, there's so much more to explore in the book Misfits and Crackpots by yours truly, Dr. Danny Brissell. Grab your copy now on Amazon and dive deeper into the extraordinary lives of those who dared to change the world. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share the podcast with fellow misfits who love inspiring stories. See you next time.